The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. Captain Daniel Wright stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the massive alien ship approached. His heart beat faster, but his face remained calm. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, the day that would change everything. "They're hailing us again, sir," said Communications Officer Susan Miller. Her voice was steady, but her fingers trembled slightly over the controls. "Put them through," Daniel said. The screen flickered to life, showing a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Ridges of bone ran along its skull, and its mouth was filled with small, sharp teeth. "Human vessel," the alien spoke through the translator. "You will follow our ship to the nearest Federation outpost for processing and evaluation. No greeting, no introduction, just orders." Daniel straightened his uniform. "This is Captain Daniel Wright of Earth. We come in peace and look forward to establishing diplomatic relations with your Federation." The alien made a clicking sound that the translator didn't catch. "Your species is unknown to us. Initial scans indicate primitive technology and biological vulnerabilities. You will be categorized accordingly." Among the delegation of officials behind the alien commander, one figure stood out. Taller than the others, with dark purple skin and a face marked with what looked like ceremonial scars, this alien watched Daniel with unusual intensity. 3 days later, the Horizon docked at Outpost Zenith, a massive space station housing representatives from 37 different species. The human crew stared in wonder at the diversity of life forms moving through the station's corridors. In the Grand Council chamber, Federation officials examined human technology, biology, and culture with clinical detachment. Their verdict was swift and dismissive. "Earth is categorized as a Level 2 developing world," announced the Federation overseer, a jellyfish-like being floating in a gravity suspension field. "You will be granted limited trading rights and restricted access to Federation technology. Full membership is denied at this time." Daniel kept his diplomatic smile in place, though anger burned inside him. "We appreciate the classification and look forward to proving our worth as potential allies." A low rumble of laughter spread through the chamber. "Allies?" A reptilian official scoffed. "Your species has barely left its solar system. What could you possibly offer the Federation?" Before Daniel could respond, a deep voice cut through the murmurs. "I would like to study these humans further." The chamber fell silent as the purple-skinned warrior Daniel had noticed earlier stepped forward. "General Krelzar," the overseer acknowledged with noticeable respect. "Your interest is unexpected." Krelzar's 4-fingered hand rested on what was clearly a ceremonial weapon at his hip. "They show unusual traits. Their representative stands before a council of superior beings without fear. Their historical records indicate remarkable adaptability and persistence." "They are primitive," huffed another official. "So were the Valkyrians once," Krelzar replied, referring to his own species. "Yet now we sit on this council." The overseer's tentacles rippled with what might have been annoyance. "What do you propose?" "I request permission to reside on Earth as a cultural observer, to learn their ways directly." A shocked silence followed. No Federation official had ever volunteered to live among a newly discovered species. "This is highly irregular," the overseer began. "I volunteer," Krelzar insisted. "My military service record grants me this discretion." Daniel watched the exchange with growing interest. Whatever this alien warrior saw in humanity, it was something the others had missed. 3 months later, General Krelzar of the Valkyrian Empire became the first alien to take up residence on Earth. As the Federation shuttle landed in the designated area outside the newly constructed Interspecies Relations Center in Geneva, crowds gathered behind security barriers. Krelzar emerged from the ship, his tall figure imposing in ceremonial armor that gleamed under Earth's sun. His 4 eyes scanned the crowd slowly before settling on Captain Wright, who waited to officially welcome him. Neither of them knew it yet, But this moment marked the beginning of a friendship that would eventually reshape the power dynamics of the entire galaxy. 3 years passed since Krelzar first set foot on Earth. The tall alien warrior had become a familiar sight at the Earth Defense Force headquarters in Colorado. His purple skin and ceremonial scars drew stares from new recruits, but veterans nodded respectfully when he passed. Lieutenant Amy Pearson hurried down the hallway with a tablet in her hand. As Krelzar's official human liaison, her days were never boring. "General Krelzar," she called, finding him in the observation room overlooking the training grounds. "The Admiral wants to see us immediately." Krelzar turned, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Has something happened, Lieutenant?" "They won't tell me," Amy said, but the message was marked urgent. They walked together to the secure conference room. Amy had grown used to the alien's long strides and no longer had to rush to keep up. Over the years, she had learned to read his expressions, to understand when he was troubled despite his alien features. Today, he was troubled. Admiral Frank Delgado stood at the head of the conference table, his face grim. The wall screen behind him showed a star map with a red zone spreading across one sector. "The Harvester Collective has broken through Federation defense lines," he said without preamble. "They've destroyed 3 outposts already and are moving toward human space." Amy felt her stomach drop. The Harvesters were known predators, a species that consumed resources and left dead worlds behind. "How long do we have?" she asked. 2 months, maybe less," the Admiral replied. "The Federation ambassador just left my office. They're withdrawing diplomatic personnel." Krelzar stepped forward. "They're abandoning Earth." Admiral Delgado nodded. "They say they can't spare resources to defend a non-member world. They've advised evacuation to inner Federation territory." Evacuation. Amy couldn't believe it. "We're talking about billions of people." "The Federation has made its position clear," Krelzar said, his voice low and rumbling with anger. "They believe humans have no chance against the Harvesters." The room fell silent. The Earth Defense Force had ships, yes, but nothing that could stand against the kind of fleet the Harvesters would bring. "What about you, Krelzar?" Admiral Delgado asked finally. "The Federation is recalling all its citizens. Will you return to your people?" Krelzar's hand moved to touch the ceremonial dagger at his belt, a gesture Amy had learned meant he was deep in thought. "No," he said at last. "I will stay." Later that evening, Amy found Krelzar in his quarters. Unlike most Federation officials, who required special environments, Krelzar had adapted to Earth conditions with minimal adjustments. His room contained few personal items, except for a wall covered with historical battle maps from human history. "Why are you staying?" Amy asked directly. "Your people would welcome you back as a hero." Krelzar turned away from the ancient map of Thermopylae he had been studying. "In 3 years, I have learned more about warfare from human history than in 2 centuries with my own kind," he said. "The Federation believes humans are doomed because they measure strength only in technology and numbers." He pointed to the map on the wall. 300 Spartans against an empire. Vietnam against America. Afghanistan against superpowers. Again and again, throughout your history, the smaller force has prevailed through strategy, willpower, and adaptation. Amy stepped closer. "You think we can win against the Harvesters?" "I know something the Federation does not," Krelzar said, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Before becoming a cultural observer, I was a military commander. I fought the Harvesters in the border conflicts." Amy's eyes widened. "You never told us." "It was classified information," he said. "But now, it may be Earth's only hope. The Harvesters have weaknesses. They think as one mind, which makes them powerful but predictable. They have never faced humans before. And humans are anything but predictable," Amy finished. "Exactly." For the first time since she'd known him, Krelzar's mouth formed what looked like a smile. "The Federation fears the Harvesters because they fight like the Federation, with rules, formations, and predictable tactics. Humans fight dirty. Humans never give up. An alert sounded on Amy's tablet. The first Harvester scouts have been detected near Pluto, she read, her voice shaking slightly. It's happening faster than we thought. Krelzar stood tall, his warrior stance returning. Then we have work to do, Lieutenant. Earth's first interstellar war begins now. The emergency broadcast cut through all channels on Earth. Admiral Delgado's face was stone-like as he delivered the news. Citizens of Earth, the outer Neptune mining colony was attacked 6 hours ago by Harvester forces. We have confirmed 3,422 casualties. The colony is lost. In the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, screens displayed the aftermath. Smoking ruins where homes once stood. Bodies floating in space. A once thriving outpost reduced to debris. Krelzar stood silently as human military leaders argued around the table. We should evacuate everyone back to Earth, said General Paul Martinez, his fist hitting the table. And then what? Asked Admiral Delgado. Wait for them to reach us here. Amy watched Krelzar from across the room. The alien warrior had been unusually quiet since the news broke. Krelzar, she said, approaching him. You've fought these creatures before. What should we do? The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the purple-skinned alien. The harvesters will not stop, he said finally. They consume, move on, and consume again. It is their nature. The Federation contained them for centuries through superior numbers and technology. Earth has neither. So we're doomed, General Martinez said flatly. I did not say that, Krelzar replied. He moved to the central holographic display and activated it with a 4-fingered hand. The harvesters had a hive mind. They think as one entity across thousands of bodies. This gives them perfect coordination, but makes them vulnerable in ways the Federation never exploited. What ways? Admiral Delgado leaned forward. They cannot comprehend decentralized command. Individual initiative confuses them, and they have never encountered human military doctrine. Krelzar looked around the room. In my years studying your history, I have observed that humans excel at asymmetric warfare. Vietnam, Afghanistan, the American Revolution. Smaller forces defeating larger ones through unconventional methods. The room was completely silent now. I was not just a cultural observer on Earth, Krelzar continued. Before that, I was Supreme Commander of the Valkyrian Third Fleet. I fought the harvesters in the border conflicts and studied them extensively. Several officers exchanged glances of surprise. You're a general, Amy asked. Was, Krelzar corrected. I retired after the conflicts. But I maintain contacts throughout the Federation military, some who owe me favors. Admiral Delgado straightened. Are you saying you can get us help? Not officially. The Federation Council has made its decision to abandon Earth, but there are those who disagree with that decision. Those who might provide intelligence, perhaps even technology, if approached correctly. Hope flickered across the faces around the table. Over the next 3 weeks, unmarked ships from various Federation worlds arrived in Earth orbit. Each carried small delegations, scientists, military advisors, and engineers who quietly delivered data drives and technology samples before departing. They risk much by helping us, Krelzar explained to Amy as they watched a Tellarate ship depart. If the Council discovered their actions, they would face severe penalties. Why are they helping then? Amy asked. Krelzar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. What Amy had learned was his equivalent of a thoughtful pause. Some are old comrades who trust my judgment. Others are curious about humans. A few believe the Council's decision was dishonorable. In the main hangar of the Mars Defense Station, engineers worked around the clock to modify Earth's ships with the new technology. Weapon systems that could actually damage harvester vessels. Shield generators that might withstand their attacks. Admiral Delgado and Krelzar spent endless hours developing strategy. They created a defense plan unlike anything in Federation military doctrine. A fluid, adaptable approach that gave ship captains unusual autonomy and emphasized unpredictable maneuvers. This violates every principle of organized warfare, Krelzar said as they finalized the plans. That's exactly why it might work, Admiral Delgado replied. The Harvesters expect us to fight like the Federation. They don't know humans yet. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected the main Harvester fleet approaching Saturn's orbit. 30 massive ships, each carrying thousands of drone fighters. Admiral Delgado addressed the combined Earth fleet from the bridge of his flagship. Men and women of Earth, today we fight not just for our planet, but to show the galaxy what humans are capable of. We are outnumbered and outgunned, but we have something the enemy doesn't. We are unpredictable, we are creative, and we never, ever give up. Beside him, Krelzar nodded in approval. All ships, Admiral Delgado commanded, execute Operation Scattered Thunder. The human fleet dispersed in seemingly random directions, a chaotic pattern that would have horrified any Federation tactical officer. The battle for humanity had begun. The Harvester fleet moved through Saturn's rings like shadows, their black ships absorbing light rather than reflecting it. On the bridge of Earth's flagship Defiance, Admiral Delgado watched the tactical display with a grim expression. They're deploying in standard Federation counterformation, Krelzar observed. They expect us to fight as the Federation taught us. Then let's disappoint them, Admiral Delgado replied. He opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, execute Phase 2. Captain Ortiz, you have green light. On the small attack vessel Wasp, Captain Lisa Ortiz smiled at her orders. Her ship and 5 others had been hiding in Saturn's dense rings, engines cold, waiting for this moment. Power up all systems, she commanded. Prepare for flanking run. The 6 human ships burst from their hiding places behind the Harvester line, their new weapons blazing. The alien vessels, caught completely by surprise, suffered significant damage before they could respond. Meanwhile, the main Earth fleet performed a maneuver that made Krelzar's 4 eyes widen in disbelief. Instead of maintaining formation, each ship began acting independently, selecting its own targets and attack vectors. The result was chaos. Beautiful, deadly chaos. The Harvesters can't predict individualized attack patterns, Krelzar explained to Amy, who stood nearby monitoring communications. Their hive mind is struggling to process so many different threats simultaneously. On the tactical display, one of the massive Harvester motherships flashed red as multiple human vessels concentrated fire on a section Krelzar had identified as vital. Their central command ship is vulnerable, Admiral Delgado announced. Special Task Force Alpha, you are clear to board. Aboard a stealth insertion craft, Krelzar checked his weapons one final time. Around him, 12 human Special Forces soldiers did the same. They had trained together for weeks for this moment. Remember, he told them, disable their central neural node. Without it, the drones will be disoriented. We've got your back, General, said Team Leader Jeff Barnes with a nod. The boarding was violent and immediate. Harvester drones, tall insect-like creatures with multiple limbs, swarmed to defend their ship. The human soldiers fought with a ferocity that surprised even Krelzar. Private Sam Wilson took a severe wound to his shoulder from a drone's claws, but continued firing his weapon one-handed. Sergeant Kate Miller used close-quarters combat techniques to take down a drone twice her size when her rifle jammed. Keep moving, Krelzar shouted as they pushed toward the central chamber. Outside in space, the battle raged. Captain Ortiz's flanking maneuver had knocked out the engines on 2 Harvester ships. The Earth vessels darted between larger enemy ships, using Saturn's rings for cover and confusion. Admiral, the tactical officer reported, the Harvester command structure appears to be breaking down. Their movements are becoming erratic. Inside the mothership, Krelzar and the human team reached the Neural Control Center. 3 soldiers had died in the push, and most others were wounded. Krelzar himself bled purple blood from a gash across his chest. Plant the charges, he ordered, pointing to the massive organic structure pulsing in the center of the room. Private Wilson, still fighting despite his injury, set the explosive devices while the others provided cover. Charges set. 2 minutes to detonation. They fought their way back to the extraction point, losing 2 more soldiers in the process. As their ship detached from the mothership, the explosives detonated. The effect rippled through the entire harvester fleet. Without central coordination, the drones became confused. Some ships stopped moving entirely. Others began firing randomly, sometimes hitting their own vessels. All ships, concentrate fire on designated targets, Admiral Delgado ordered. One by one, the harvester ships fell to concentrated Earth attacks. When the massive command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, a cheer erupted across all human vessels. Captain Ortiz's voice came over the comms. "Admiral, we've done it. They're retreating." In the aftermath, as damaged Earth ships limped home, news of the victory spread quickly. Across the planet, people celebrated what seemed impossible. Humanity had defeated the harvesters. In Federation space, reports of the battle were met with disbelief. Some dismissed it as propaganda or luck. But Krelzar had ensured that everything was recorded. The footage of human soldiers continuing to fight despite injuries that would incapacitate most Federation species began to circulate among military circles. The galaxy had just received its first lesson about humans in warfare. It would not be the last. 6 months after the Battle of Saturn, Earth's shipyards hummed with activity. Engineers and technicians worked day and night, incorporating salvaged harvester technology into the growing human fleet. What had begun as a desperate defense was evolving into something more. In the war room, Admiral Delgado studied the latest intelligence reports. The harvesters had retreated to their core systems, but scouts reported they were rebuilding their forces. "They will return," Krelzar said, now officially appointed as strategic advisor to Earth's military command. And in greater numbers. Amy Pearson, recently promoted to captain for her actions during the Saturn defense, nodded in agreement. "We can't just wait for them to attack again." "Which is why I propose this," Krelzar said, activating the holographic display. A series of stars lit up, showing supply routes and staging areas in harvester territory. A counteroffensive. Admiral Delgado studied the plan with raised eyebrows. "You want us to attack them in their own territory. The harvesters believe you are like other Federation species, that you will celebrate your victory, then fortify and wait." Krelzar's 4 eyes fixed on the Admiral. They do not understand that humans are natural hunters. Later that day, the Federation ambassador requested an emergency meeting. The tall bird-like alien paced the conference room, his feathers ruffled in agitation. "The Council has been informed of your plans," he said. "They strongly advise against this action." "The Council abandoned Earth," Admiral Delgado replied calmly. "They have no say in our defense strategy." "This is not defense," the ambassador squawked. "This is aggression. You barely survived one encounter with the harvesters. To attack them directly is suicide for such a young species." Krelzar stepped forward. "Tell me, Ambassador, how many years did the Federation fight the harvesters before containing them?" 73 standard cycles, the ambassador admitted reluctantly. "And how many worlds were lost in that time?" 17. The ambassador's voice was barely audible. "Earth cannot wait 73 years, Krelzar said. "Humans understand something the Federation never has, that sometimes the best defense is a swift, decisive attack." 2 weeks later, a joint strike force led by Commander Jack Winters and Krelzar launched from Earth. 30 ships, each carrying crews who had volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission. Their first target was a harvester supply depot near the edge of their territory. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly on top of the station. No standard approach vector, no formation. Krelzar noted with satisfaction as the ships immediately scattered into their attack patterns. Perfect. The harvesters, caught by surprise, scrambled to defend. But the human attacks came from all directions at once, each ship captain executing their own plan within the larger strategy. Commander Winter's voice came over the comm. "All ships, implement Operation Whisper." Immediately, The human vessels cut all non-essential power, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. They drifted silently toward their targets, weapons hot but dormant. The harvesters depend on active sensors, Krelzar explained to the bridge crew. They cannot comprehend an enemy that chooses to go dark. When the attack came, it was devastating. The supply depot and its defending ships were destroyed in less than an hour. Over the next month, the strike force hit 6 more targets, each time disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. They left behind only destruction and confusion. Federation observers watching from afar were stunned. The humans were using tactics that violated every principle of conventional space warfare. And they were working. In his quarters, Krelzar began documenting what he was witnessing. He recorded videos of human commanders calmly giving orders in the midst of chaos, of engineers working without sleep to repair battle damage, of wounded soldiers returning to duty before fully healed. Most disturbing to the watching Federation species was the human use of psychological warfare. Before each attack, Earth ships broadcast the same message to harvester frequencies. Remember, Saturn, this is just the beginning. The message was followed by the sounds of human battle cries, a cacophony that seemed to physically pain the hive-minded harvesters, whose communication was based on harmony and rhythm. After a particularly successful raid, Krelzar found Commander Winters in the ship's mess hall, calmly eating while reviewing the next target. "You should be resting," Krelzar said. "The battle was intense." Winters shrugged. "We're hunting them now. Sleep can wait." Krelzar made a note in his personal log that night. Humans do not fight wars. They wage them with their entire being. The Federation has never encountered this mindset before, and it terrifies them almost as much as it does the harvesters. The war reached its 4th month when the harvesters launched their desperate counterattack. Not against Earth as expected, but against the Mars colony. 20 million humans lived there, in the great domed cities that sparkled under the red sky. "They've deployed something new," reported Lieutenant Alan Foster, his voice tense over the emergency channel. "Some kind of superweapon. It's tearing through our defenses like they're not even there." On the bridge of the flagship Defiance, Admiral Delgado watched the tactical display with horror as harvester ships surrounded Mars. The colony's shield generators were failing one by one. "All available ships, redirect to Mars immediately," he ordered. Krelzar studied the energy readings from the harvester superweapon. His 4 eyes narrowed in recognition. "I've seen this technology before," he said. "It targets shield harmonics specifically. The harvesters developed it late in the border conflicts, but never perfected it." "Well, they've perfected it now," Admiral Delgado said grimly. The Earth fleet arrived at Mars to find chaos. 2 of the major domes had been breached, emergency force fields barely containing the atmosphere. Harvester landing craft had deployed ground troops into the colony. "They're targeting civilians," Annie reported, her face pale as she monitored the ground battle. "This isn't like their usual resource collection pattern." "It's retaliation," Krelzar said quietly. "We have hurt them, and now they want to hurt us in return. They're learning from us, adapting to human tactics." As the space battle raged above, Krelzar made a decision. He boarded a drop ship with a team of Marines, heading for the surface where civilians were being evacuated from the damaged domes. The scene on the ground was chaos. Harvester drones moved through the streets, their insect-like forms towering over the fleeing humans. Marine squads fought building to building, trying to secure evacuation routes. Krelzar led his team toward Dome 4, where sensors showed a large group of civilians trapped by collapsed infrastructure. As they fought their way through the streets, he saw something that made his warrior's heart swell with pride. Ordinary human civilians fighting back with whatever they could find. Farmers with tools, teachers with improvised weapons, all standing their ground to give others time to escape. Near the dome entrance, a group of school children were pinned down by harvester fire. Their teacher, an elderly woman, stood in front of them with nothing but determination as a shield. Krelzar charged forward, his Valkyrian battle roar echoing through the dome. He engaged 3 harvester drones at once, giving the Marines time to reach the children. "Get them out," he shouted, his ceremonial blade slicing through a drone's armor. The evacuation was nearly complete when the dome's main support beam, damaged in the attack, began to collapse. Krelzar looked up, calculating in an instant. Without hesitation, he shoved the last group of humans, a mother and 2 small children, through the exit door. The beam came down with crushing force. Hours later, medical teams dug through the rubble. They found Krelzar barely alive, his powerful body having taken the full weight of the collapse. Purple blood pooled beneath him as they carefully lifted him onto a stretcher. "Will he live?" Admiral Delgado asked the chief medical officer as they watched Krelzar being rushed into surgery. "I don't know," the doctor admitted. "His physiology is different from ours. We're doing everything we can." For 6 days, Krelzar lay in the medical bay between life and death. The Mars colony had been saved, but at terrible cost. Over 30,000 humans had died in the attack, along with hundreds of military personnel. During his periods of consciousness, Krelzar dictated notes to Amy, who rarely left his side. Despite his injuries, his mind remained focused on the war. "The document must be completed," he insisted, his voice weak but determined. "The Federation must understand what they are witnessing." Amy typed as he spoke, recording his observations on human warfare, psychology, and cultural unity in crisis. The document grew into a comprehensive analysis titled "The Sleeping Giants." "Why that title?" Amy asked during a pause. Krelzar's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Because the galaxy has been fortunate that humans slept peacefully in their corner of space for so long. Now they are awakening, and nothing will ever be the same." Unknown to both Krelzar and Earth's leadership, his document was secretly transmitted by a Federation spy to the highest levels of galactic government. Those who read it reacted with a mixture of disbelief and growing fear. As Krelzar fought for his life, Admiral Delgado and Earth's military council prepared their response to the Mars attack. They called it Operation Retribution, and its target was nothing less than the Harvester homeworld itself. Operation Retribution began at dawn, Earth time. The largest fleet humanity had ever assembled jumped into the Harvester home system. 67 ships led by Admiral Delgado's flagship Defiance appeared without warning, their weapons already charged and targeting systems locked. In the medical bay of the Defiance, Krelzar watched the tactical display from his recovery bed. Though still weak from his injuries on Mars, he had insisted on being present for what might be the final battle. "They've detected us," reported Commander Winters from the bridge. Harvester defense grid powering up. The Harvester homeworld was ringed with orbital defenses, massive weapon platforms, and shield generators that had kept the Federation at bay for decades during the border conflicts. "Execute primary plan," Admiral Delgado ordered calmly. What followed shocked even Krelzar. Instead of attacking the orbital defenses, 30 small Earth ships deliberately flew into the defense grid, sacrificing themselves to create gaps in the coverage. "Those ships," Krelzar whispered, "they're crewed." "Volunteers," Amy confirmed beside his bed. "Every one of them." Through the gaps created by the sacrificial ships, the main Earth fleet penetrated to the planet's atmosphere. They targeted not military installations, but the central hive clusters where the Harvester queens lived. The battle was brutal but short. When the last queen fell, a strange signal rippled across all Harvester forces. Their ships stopped firing, drifting aimlessly in space. "They're surrendering," Amy said in disbelief. "It's over." 3 weeks later, Krelzar stood before the Federation Council. His wounds had not fully healed, and he leaned slightly on a ceremonial staff. The chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every Federation species crowded together to witness this historic session. "The Harvester Collective has been contained," announced the Overseer. "Their surrender terms have been accepted, and their remaining territories placed under Federation control." A murmur ran through the assembly. The war that had lasted for decades, that had cost 17 worlds, had been ended in less than a year by a species most had dismissed as primitive. The Council has called this emergency session to reassess Earth's status. The Overseer continued. General Krelzar of the Valkyrian Empire has requested to address the Assembly regarding humanity. Krelzar moved slowly to the center of the chamber. His time among humans had changed him. He no longer wore the traditional Valkyrian armor, but instead a modified Earth military uniform with both human and Valkyrian insignia. Honored representatives, he began, his deep voice filling the chamber. You made a grave mistake in your judgment of humanity. You saw their limited technology and called them primitive. You noted their short lives and called them transient. You observed their divisions and called them weak. He activated a holographic display, showing footage from the war. Human soldiers fighting on despite terrible injuries, civilian volunteers standing alongside military forces, ship captains executing maneuvers that Federation tacticians had declared impossible. What you failed to see was that humanity's history, filled with conflict among themselves, created a species uniquely adapted to warfare. They have fought on every terrain, in every condition. They have developed thousands of combat doctrines, tested in blood against their own kind. The Council watched in silence as the images continued. Earth ships deliberately ramming harvester vessels, human ground forces using tactics no Federation species would consider, the final assault on the harvester homeworld, where crews sacrificed themselves without hesitation. Humanity does not just fight wars, Krelzar concluded. They throw their entire civilization into the effort. They adapt faster, accept higher casualties, and never ever surrender. In all my centuries, I have never witnessed such determination. The chamber remained silent for several moments after he finished. Finally, the Overseer spoke. The Council has reviewed your document, The Sleeping Giants. We find its conclusions concerning. They should concern you, Krelzar replied. You abandoned a species that could have been your greatest ally. Instead, you taught them that they stand alone in a hostile universe. Remember this, humanity now knows its strength. 2 days later, Earth was granted full Federation membership with unprecedented speed. The official reason given was recognition of their contribution to defeating the Harvester threat. The unofficial reason, whispered in private chambers, was fear of what might happen if they were not embraced as allies. As human representatives took their place in galactic society, Krelzar's detailed accounts of human warfare became required reading at all Federation military academies. A new saying emerged among Federation diplomats. Befriend the humans, fear their enemies. Krelzar himself accepted a permanent position as ambassador between Earth and his homeworld. During the ceremony, Admiral Delgado asked him why he had chosen to tie his fate to humanity's. Because, Krelzar said simply, in all the galaxy, I finally found warriors worthy of respect.